race leader. This means doing well in qualifying does not guarantee coming out on top in Brazil. Alain Prost has been the most successful driver at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He managed 6 victories between...
Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the Group 1 finale here in Interlagos. Hope you're having a good Saturday afternoon or evening, wherever you might be at. Actually, we got Curry. I don't know why he's in, but we'll have to see. But yeah, gonna have a nice full lobby today. Of course, have the finale. I got a couple of championship battles up for grabs today, and if you'll excuse me, I will have to back out real quick to invite one of the drivers who are getting in as we are trying to get one of our Constructors' Championship contenders all set. But of course, welcome to Interlagos in Brazil. Of course, the finale of the actual Formula One season for a long time. Now I believe it's, second or third last. Obviously depends on the calendar year. I got currently 16 drivers lined up on the grid and getting ready to go. And should prove a very interesting and very fast race, as once again, Group 1 manages to get rain in the forecast. Again, we don't have these weather conditions set, and we have a different host today, so that's not even the issue. So I don't know what's going on, as Oni already out of the session, so that's our first driver out. That's it down at T4, I believe. But Bono in the Aston Martin is going to be leading the way for this outlap, making his way through the Senna S's of 1, 2, and 3. Very important to get right. Also very, very important in that first sector. And of course, as he hits that first marker, it's going to be a 17-1 for Bono, looking to set that mark. I believe that's Descida de Lago, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, through 4 and up into this double right-hander. Rain. Going to prove a bit of a challenge. And of course, got to switch it back to the left then. Of course, kind of about third gear through there. Now it's really important once you get up to this point. Very difficult braking zone there in that middle sector. Very easy to lock up and very important to get the traction right as you come out. And of course, out of this final proper corner now, that AlphaTauri right on his rear. I believe that is Derul working his way through. Out of the final corner, Bono comes. And to the line, of course, hugging tight to that left side. And so 108.8, Derul immediately pips that to go to the front with a 108.1. Here comes a Red Bull to the line, I believe just starting a lap, which means it's going to be an Alfa Romeo to the next. Next, I believe that's Dodoligo to the line. It was a 109.3, but potentially invalidated. And I can see a number of drivers coming in. Somebody took the McLaren. But of course, Derul currently on top. Joner and Coulter getting through. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure Tommy XXC is all set. As Hypnos for Williams goes to the top with a 108.0. That is certainly odd. I only see Tano. I don't see Curry in my timing tower. So that's kind of odd. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that, but yeah, a couple of drivers coming in. Tano, of course, in his second race back with the 107.8, of course, definitely going to be a favorite in that McLaren. But we'll have to wait and see there as Tommy XXC is in. We are going to have a quick red flag after qualifying, just as a quick heads up to anybody tuning in. as somebody got in who wasn't supposed to, but qualifying results will stand. But yeah, it is Tano currently on top. Basil currently sitting 5th. Definitely time you'd expect him to be a little bit quicker, but sadly not. Apologies. It is just me up in the commentary booth today, so we'll have to see how this goes. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But of course, a couple of times being first on the board. Of course, Moikoli sits 6th, Vasil sits 5th. Viperize is apparently running 1-2 wings. That is a very interesting decision. You're a bomb in the streets and probably in the corners too. Viperize is going to be cosplaying the IRA today. So that should be interesting. Moikoli on an in lap. I believe that's one of the Alpha Tauris coming around. Let's see. Yeah, Darul on an out lap, and I believe he's the only one kind of currently on a lap. Basil's making his way around. Yeah, a bunch of drivers now looking to get out, and led by one of the Alpines. Of course, I'll give all of you tuning in real quick an update on our standings, as I actually jumped on board with Viperize there. So I'll jump to that leading Alpine of Gawoon Jamie, who is in one of our 2 championship fights today. Excuse me. So in the driver standings, a bunch of you have been used to seeing Wingish over the past couple of weeks. Sadly, he did leave the league, which makes him ineligible to take the Drivers' Championship, which means it's going to come down to Joner and Jamie in the fight for the Drivers' Championship fight. Only 8 points in it between the Haas and the Alpine driver. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that continues. Of course, Joner currently sitting in P11. And, of course, Jamie looking to set his first lap. And those are the only 2 drivers in it for that crown, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, in the constructors, those points for Wingish do still stand for McLaren in an effort not to punish Tommy XXC. So McLaren continues to retain a 19-point edge over Alpine and a 20-point edge over Williams. So I believe... So, a good finish by them will be able to lock that up. And, yeah, we will be having a brief red flag, of course, to, sort some things out. We do have a driver in the lobby that is not supposed to be. So, of course, we'll have to wait and see. But we'll jump on board with Gawoon Jamie, of course, in one of those main fights for for championships, but quickly has invalidated his lap. So we'll have to probably see a recharge and a go again from him. Through the rest of you, our stratting has invalidated. Dodoligo, of course, currently not a time on the board as of yet, is on a push. Coulter, his teammate, ahead on an out lap. So let's see, who's furthest ahead? That's one of the Alpha Towers to line. That is Darul with a 107.891. So just a shade behind Tano in the attempt to try and steal provisional pole. Gawoon Jamie, of course, getting around to start a lap. He's actually going to be followed by Joner, who's going to come to the line. That lap time, a 108.6, which will bump the Haas up into P7. So good lap there from Joner in the early stages. Of course, definitely tough to keep track of everybody around a lap here. You got Vasil diving into the pits. It's a Mercedes ahead of him. I believe that's R Stratting getting underway with his first lap, but we'll jump on board the Ferrari of Moikoli, currently sitting 6th, looking in a decent championship fight with Mercedes, at least for team honors. That's over P6, so definitely keep an eye on the Ferrari versus Mercedes battle. I believe that's going to be, actually no, it's going to be Moikol and Oni versus R Stratting, so definitely keep an eye on that. As Tommy XXC gets started with a lap, Jojo and Hypno's actually going to battle early on here in this qualifying session. Jojo, though, eventually going to give way as they were both looking to get a lap started, and Hypno's actually invalidated his lap already, so he will not be improving. Tommy XXC 17-1 middle sector, but invalidated that. Jamie, though, going to dive into the pit lane, so not able to get a lap in, is just going to get into the pits. Striding 17-0 through sector 1, 51-8 through sector 2. Of course, he's going to be he would be reserving, but that ERS already off, so the Mercedes likely diving around for the pits as well. As already, those clouds getting rather dark. I don't believe rain is expected in qualifying, but here comes Moikuli out of the final corner and to the line. Moikuli will jump up into P4 with a 108.1, so a good lap there from the Ferrari driver. Yellow flag there in Sector 3. That's for a spun Mercedes. I believe that is Tommy XXC. Of course, currently in that Mercedes. Of course, we'll try and back out and get him in the McLaren. So we'll just be waiting to get that done. But yeah, number of battles still to be determined. Pingy goes 8th fastest in a reserve effort for Aston Martin. So good lap there. It's one of the Alpines to the line. That's going to be Jojo, still 5th fastest. And I believe that's the Mercedes of XXC. Who's getting set for an in-lap there. Is just under 7 minutes left to go in qualifying. Jojo actually on a push. We'll jump down to XXC real quick, see if he's on the same as he flies by. Yeah, both Jojo and XXC on a hot lap, so we'll keep an eye on them as they make their way around the circuit. Moikuli on an in-lap. Tano, meanwhile, down a 10th, already sitting provisional pole. Of course, we've seen him before many times here in LSR. Around the final corner and to the line was a 10th up through 2 sectors. He gains a 10th and a half and pushes that gap to a 107.7, so a good lap from him to push that provisional pole that little bit further. Jojo, meanwhile, a 10th down on his lap time through the first sector. Here he comes through the last couple of corners, just slightly up on his time through Sector 2, so I have to see if he can maximize that exit. Doesn't need that much time to be able to jump ahead of Moikuli for P4, and that's, of course, very, very important for Alpine here. He's actually just going to dive into the pit lane, so potentially not a great exit, and was just down, so we'll jump down to Tommy XXC, will come to the line. That lap time only good enough for P11 for the McLaren driver. Of course, still a decent chunk of time left, 5.5 minutes now. So still a good bit of time on the clock. Of course, we'll have to wait and see where all this goes. Of course, still a lot of time. Of course, Tommy XXC making his way around. Viperize actually invalidated that lap. Gawoon Jamie, though, 16.9 first sector and does seem to be pushing here with 5 minutes in quali to go. Here it comes into the final braking zone, and he's actually going to lock the rears under. Good, loses that. I think just went a little bit too harsh on those brakes and lost that back end. So he's still going to be 17th. Of course, still has time to get a shot at one more lap. As Curry now has left the session. Again, we will go ahead and do a quick lobby reset to make sure he is not in the lobby, but he did get disconnected there. So we're all okay on that front. Of course, we're going to still get that reset so that way we can see the championship fight. But Jamie diving into the pit lane as a couple of cars looking to come out. I believe that is Pingy making his way. No, it's one of the Alpha Tauris. Who is that? Now, of course, Vazel on an out lap. That's actually both Red Bulls currently out. Viperize is as well. We'll jump on board with him. It's currently up very slightly through Sector 1, so we'll keep an eye on him as he continues his lap. Of course, another reserve today. Definitely, going to be starting up Season 7 very shortly, so should see more full-time drivers as they get underway. But here comes Viperize working his way through Sector 2 now. Of course, got this very quick left-hander, and then you got a very tricky braking zone here where you got to be really careful on the brakes, but you also want to be very aggressive, get that car set up, and get right back on the power. So it's a good exit there from Viperize. Currently sits P13, and here it comes. Of course, you want to keep it real tight to that white line on the left. Here comes Viperize to the line. That lap time good enough for 7th, puts him just behind his teammate of Vazel. So good lap there from him. It's also Drool on an out lap as well. Vazel, though, getting just underway. So we'll jump on board with the second Red Bull as he makes his way through the Senna S's of turns 1 through 3. Currently shaping up to have a little bit of lap traffic up ahead of him. This is already lap 7 for him, as we just go under 3 minutes left to go, and he's up a tenth and change early on. So currently on pace already to jump up into P4. So could Vasil be thinking front row, and could we see another contender for Tano as he makes his way through turns 5 and 6? A little bit of traffic up ahead with the Mercedes of, I believe that was Tommy XXC. Of course, a bunch of cars diving out of the way, a little bit loose there as he makes his way through this little infield section. Of course, sorry, I didn't have enough time to get the track map set up with corner names. So here he comes out of the final corner, and he's up 3/10. So Vasil really flying here. Of course, still a lot of time left to go in qualifying, but here he comes out of the final corner. Look to maybe try and get a little bit of slipstream from his teammate, who is going to dive into the pit lane. Vasil to the line. Only good enough for P2, though. A 3/10 improvement, and just slots ahead of Darul in that AlphaTauri. But lap time good enough for P2 at the moment, and Darul on his first push lap at the end of qualifying here is going to be P3. Of course, he is going to have enough time to potentially take a lap around and get back underway. Of course, only he's going to need 2 thousandths. Definitely keep an eye, once again, on Gawun Jamie, who is still in the pits with a minute and a half left to go. Actually, no, he's on an out lap. So he will get that lap in. I believe everybody coming out now should get a lap in. Viperize, though, very well might not. But, of course, every driver out for the moment. So we'll jump through, see if anybody is on a push. Vasil seems to be on a bit of a rest and recovery lap. Robbie, though, getting underway, but we'll jump on board with Tommy XXC on a push through the infield section. Again, remember this, he will be with McLaren after we have that quick lobby reset. Here he comes into that final braking zone now, having to dive out of the way of that Alfa Romeo, and he's flying. He's up 4.5 tenths as of right now. That lap time would be very good for McLaren, as here comes Tommy XXC out of the final corner. Of course, wing wide open at the back. Here he comes to the line, and that lap time good enough for 8th, so lost a bit of time out of that final corner. So Tommy XXC slots in 8th. Robbie not improving early on in his lap. Darul slightly up. Vasil is going to dive into the pits. Tano slightly up as well. Here comes the provisional pole sitter through the final couple of corners, and across the second sector marker, he's up 2 tenths. So Tano is absolutely rapid, as we've seen many times before. Here comes the reserve through the final corner, and to the line. Where will Tano slot in? He'll slot in even further on pole. 107.591 for him. And can anybody fight that? Vasil not up in the first sector. Darul well down. Hypnose not up by enough. He's going to start in no better than 4th, though up a 10th in sector 1. Moikuli is slow, so I don't know if he'll... Seems slow, so I don't think he'll improve. Darul does not improve. He'll start 3rd. Viperize 7th. Jojo jumps up to 4th for Alpine, who wants to get even more of a championship fight. We'll jump down to Gawun Jamie, who, of course, is in a driver's championship battle with Joner, who currently sits in P10. Again, Jamie has to outscore Joner by 9 points in order to try and lock up that driver's championship. Here he comes out of the final corner. Only 1 lap on the board, but can he make it count? Here he comes down to the start-finish line. Gawun Jamie will start in P8, so he will jump ahead of Joner, who will start 3 spots behind him. Jojo does receive a 5-place grid penalty, but that will not stand. Here comes Hypnose to the line. He'll start 3rd, so Hypnose will start P3, and that is going to be your starting order. It's going to be Tano, Vasil, Hypnose, Darul, Jojo, Moikuli, Viperize, Jamie, Robbie, and Tommy XXC. Of course, we will be back in just a few minutes. Gonna have a quick lobby reset to make sure that we do get all set and with the correct teams and orders. And of course, we will see you in just a little bit, and we'll see you then. Again, apologize for the delay real quick. Just getting the last of the way set and should be getting going, very shortly now. But yeah, shouldn't be too much longer. But yeah, just getting weather set, and then we'll get underway. It is going to be a changeable conditions race. Yeah, sadly, I cannot show you, so that would be nice. But yeah, it'll just be a second now, just kind of confirming some last settings. Of course, if you've got any predictions, definitely throw those in chat. No, we got a few less people here than normal. But yeah, still should be interesting. Yeah, shouldn't be too much longer. Just trying to get a look at the weather from my compatriot and lobby host real quick. Again, apologies. Who the fuck is 18? Apologies. All right. All right, should be getting underway here now. Again, apologies for this delay. And we should be getting back underway here shortly. All right. And of course, we'll allow our drivers to get settings ready as well. I'm actually going to come over here and do something there. Yeah, should be getting back underway here now. Again, definitely the battles to keep an eye on. Of course, it is going to be Alpine and McLaren. Of course, with Tano having a very strong qualifying, McLaren should be able to lock up that Constructors' Championship. as well as definitely keep an eye on the gap between Gawoon Jamie and Thomas D. Of course, we are starting with intermediate conditions here at Interlagos. Definitely just had to take a minute to get those weather settings good to go. Of course, it shouldn't be too much longer before we get underway. One, two, three, 4, and 5 red lights. And we are underway here in Brazil, and it seems to be a pretty slow getaway from most of the grid. Tano, though, immediately going to go to cover off that Red Bull. Jamie up into 7th, though, and it's Tano away well. Seemingly most of the field able to get underway all right as they fan out. Everybody gets through the Sen S's, though. Hypnos having to take to the escape road and having to cut the corner there, and is actually going to go into the wall almost. And here comes everybody. Tommy XXC up into 6th, so that's a great start from him. As we take a look at the tire strategies for now, of course, the race is going to dry out, and as they come through turn number 4, there's so many cars all over the place as they file 2 by 2. But it's a good start for Jamie and Joner as they get underway. But Jamie still currently sitting P8. That's an Aston Martin wide in the background. That's Pingy dropping down the order. But Tano with a good getaway. Jojo, though, looking to try and keep Alpine in it. But, of course, still a lot of time left to go. Hypnos, of course, currently sitting 9th. And there's a couple of cars back there. 3 wide through there as they make their way through, as a couple of spectators are joining up. And as they make their way down and over the hill, it's Coulter and Oni side by side as they come into the final corner. So some great battling there. But it's Tano and Vazel early battling. Jamie, of course, not jumping from that position of P8. Hypnos losing 6 places on the start as Tano. Fastest lap of the race so far. I think it was Hypnos actually diving into the pit, so potentially getting some damage from that tap on the wall. Stratting as well diving into the pit lane. He's got a 5-second penalty as it's very tight there. As Jamie, again, needs 9 more points than the Haas of Jonah, who currently sits P12. Here comes Robbie, though, looking to the inside as they run down into turn 4. Is the Alpha Tire going to be later on the brakes? No, as yellow flag in sector 2. That's for a McLaren gone wide. That was Tano. So potentially an incident there between Tano and somebody else. I know he was battling Vazel, who's currently down into P10, so did the 2 leaders come together as they go by him. Tano actually slow now, and actually going to let everybody through. Doesn't seem to be any visual damage on the McLaren, who almost joins right in front of Joner. But that's great news for Jamie, who's, because of all that, has jumped right up into P5. Of course, still with a car on his rear, but still very, very tight. Of course, that means Jojo up into the lead as of right now, which is great news for Alpine, especially as Tano sits back in 10th. And, of course, as of right now, that wouldn't be quite enough for Alpine to try and secure the constructors. As here comes Moikuli around the outside of Jamie. They're going to continue side by side. Actually, Moikuli going to get through. So that puts Jamie down into P6, but currently sitting in a very good spot as they make their way through the Senna S's for the 3rd time today. Tommy XXC, though, sitting in 3rd, so looking to do as much as he can for McLaren. Viperize sitting in 4th, so he's had a great start to the race, but here comes 2 rather quick drivers, and that's a spun Alfa Romeo in the background. That is Coulter, who spins round out of the Senna S's. Alfa Romeo still in the race, but sadly is going to drop right down the order. Not sure whether that was due to contact or not. As here comes, Viperize really trying to defend heavily here as they come up the hill. That Red Bull seemingly quick enough in a straight line to keep some of those other cars at bay, but here comes the Ferrari up the inside as they make their way into Sector 2. Later on the brakes is Moikuli, who's going to lose the rear end, but with a very nice drift to stay ahead. So Moikuli with a very nice move. A little bit of contact there between Viperize and Gawoon Jamie. Viperize potentially struggling a little bit through this middle sector. and drops down another place. Of course, now going to be under pressure from Robbie, but that, of course, puts Gawoon Jamie up into P5. Joner, though, currently sitting in 10th, certainly looking to get as many points as possible, still trying to keep in it. As I believe, 18, 15, 12, 10. As of right now, I believe it would be Gawoon Jamie on tiebreaker. Because I believe Gawoon Jamie, I think, just needs to tie. I don't know quite what the tiebreaker is as of right now, but as it stands, Gawoon Jamie and Joner tied at the top of the driver's standings. Of course, a big battle here as they make their way through the Cent S's. A little bit of beating and banging between Oni and Tano. Coulter getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Coulter, or actually, didn't know that's Tano with a little bit of a rejoin there. There's a big pack. Here comes the Aston Martin of Bono as they go 2x2. Joner, though, under pressure as he moves up into P9. Actually, he's going to drop as I think he went a little bit wide through there. He's now down to 10th. This is a very, very tight battle here over P7. You got P7 down to P13, all in a little bit of a train from each other. And Viperize, of course, leading that train. So a lot of drivers are doing well right now. Oni, of course, after going out in qualifying, up into P8 already. He's gained 9 spots. Here he comes down the inside of the AlphaTauri of Robbie. He's going to be able to make this move stick as they make their way through Sector 2. They're still going to remain side by side as they make their way up over the hill. Is he going to have space there on the exit? They remain side by side. Of course, very easy to, very tight there. The AlphaTauri of who was that? Robbie getting a little bit loose, almost going up and getting into Joner a little bit, trying to recover and get back into that train. Here comes Oni on Viperize, though. Is he going to look to the inside into turn 1? No, I believe he's not going to quite get that move done. Meanwhile, up at the front, it's a Jojo and Drool with a 3-ish second advantage as of right now. Of course, definitely keep an eye on that battle for the lead. Yellow flag in Sector 1. That's a Red Bull and an AlphaTauri. And we do have our first safety car. That was Robbie and Vazel getting caught up in an incident with each other. And I believe that was the lack of front wing there on one of those machines that led to this setup. As actually, that is my fault. I forgot about that. Viperize did forget his setup. Seems to be running at least solidly, though, being in P6. But certainly doesn't seem to have loads of pace. I think at this point, I think that setup he's running may be actually a little bit better in these conditions. But of course, full course safety car as of right now will tighten that field back up. Of course, that was a very tight battle from 6th all the way down to 13th. You had about 7 cars all in a train, and I think in these tricky conditions, an incident really bound to happen there. But definitely, still lots of time left to go as a number of people being invited and joining, though definitely we need to get something set up for that. As a number of spectators now, so definitely keep an eye on that. But yeah, of course we'll have to wait and see. But of course, safety car now, and Jojo will be leading the way. Tommy, I can see sitting 3rd. Of course, I'm trying to do math in my head. That's 35 for Alpine. And I believe that's 22 for McLaren. So still, as of right now, McLaren holding sway in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, Joner currently sitting in 9th as Vazel and Robbie dive into the pit lane. That would be enough to keep Gawoon Jamie behind him, as that would only be a net 8-point loss between the Alpine and the Haas. So, of course, it will be a decent amount of time before we get back underway. I think Coulter, of course, is going to need a minute to get back around to the field. This, of course, will allow drivers such as R. Stratting, Hypnose, and Robbie to slap on some new tires, as well as Vazel to get that damage fixed and get ready to go. I think we should be getting back underway lap number 7, kind of just judging on how this field is getting back around. Of course, Viperize is going to be kicking me because he can't run his IRA setup. Much better than the IRS setup because it would be super inefficient. At least with the IRA, you can be pretty effective in bombing something. But of course, still lots of racing left to go. Of course, should be. I want to say want to say 28 laps, is Jojo actually going to dive into the pits? So what's the Alpine going to decide to do from the lead? Does the leader in this Alpine potentially have a call that he think could work? Of course, that track's still very wet. Are those slick tires? Those are slick tires going onto Jojo's Alpine. So, and of course, I forgot to put the tire selection on. So Jojo going to be the first to venture out on slick tires. I think it's too early for that, though. I think it's, I think that's a very, interesting decision. Though I certainly think as of right now, that's got to be the wrong decision. For this point in the race, is still so much spray coming off the back of that Alpine. The rain certainly lessening up quite a bit, but there's definitely no significant dry line starting to form on that racetrack. Of course, if we have another lap under safety car, very well could have something else. There's a McLaren going wide in the background there. That is Tano. I think he's able to retain that position, though. But this is great news for Jamie. As of right now, I believe that would... Actually, no, because that's still an 8-point gap at the moment. But, of course, Gwoon Jamie getting an extra position. Joner, though, currently is in 8th, so certainly not a bad position, but muy cool. Certainly going to be a tough task for Jamie to get by. Of course, Tommy XC going to really try and defend as much as he can. Of course, being in that Constructors' Championship fight, really wants to make sure that he gets those points maximized. So I don't believe we'll be underway this lap unless it's a very late call-in. It depends on when Coulter pulls up to the back of that field, though I believe at this point it is too late for the safety car to come in. As actually a number of drivers looking to go in. Here comes Derul and Tommy XXC. So 2 other drivers opting to box. Is this for slicks as well? Here comes a number of other drivers. I believe that's Tano coming in, Pingy coming in, Oni as well. What are the options for all these cars? There's some slicks on the AlphaTauri that was leading the way. He's opted for hards. That's a really slow release, though, as he can't get back in. Dodoligo has left the session, so we'll try to get him back in. But is that track going to dry up enough? Because I will try to get Dodoligo back in here before we get back underway. As Gwoon Jamie actually got some damage there. I believe that was... he does have some slight damage. Of course, still a lot of racing left to go, as there should hopefully be Dodoligo in. Robbie gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Jojo, note that, though, now up in 8th, as we do get Dodoligo back in. But yeah, Jojo really tiptoeing around, so I think it's... I'd have to say it's way too early, unless on the radio, those drivers are hearing that we are at the crossover point, as Viper Eyes checking in with us saying, stopped raining, but it is still wet. So the rain has stopped. As we jump on board muy coolly, we can see that. So I have to see, is that the play? But of course, the 2 Drivers' Championship contenders currently sitting 2nd and 4th, both still on intermediate tires, and a number of drivers behind them. Safety car is in this lap, so we will get back underway, and it's going to be the Ferrari of muy coolly leading the way from Gwoon Jamie, and of course, still a very wet racetrack as everybody makes their way out of that final braking zone and gets lined up as that safety car pulls out ahead of them. We'll jump on board. So the question is going to be, when does muy coolly look to pull the trigger? And can everybody behind hold station? Here we go, still getting set up. Still coming through into that final corner. And away goes the Ferrari. That's a rather good jump. A little bit of wheel spin as we get back underway, but a great jump as he's up 8/10. Vazel, though, jumping Bono, who got a terrible restart. I believe it's Dodoligo, though, still an AI, who actually jumped up into P5 there. So a great restart from Dodoligo to get back underway. But a good jump from muy coolly means he has the advantage for the moment. As Dodoligo, though, round now, as is, I believe, his teammate of Coulter, as they kind of battle there, side by side with the Williams, as a bunch of drivers, I think, scrambling on those intermediate compound tires. You can see how much those cars twitching behind is very tight, almost coming together, are the Ferrari and the McLaren as they battle side by side through turn 3. We'll jump back up to Gwoon Jamie, who's already pulling a little bit of a gap now back to Viper Eyes. And of course, for a lot of drivers, we're probably still at a 2-stop race, especially with how much, some of these drivers are going to be burning out those slicks. Of course, the gap between Hypnos and JoJo already up to 3 seconds, so Inner's definitely still the tire to be on, as Vasil able to find his way past Joner and up into P4 as the Red Bulls potentially doing a little bit of teamwork now. So, of course, Vasil right on the back of his teammate of Viperize. Is it going to get a little loose on the exit, though, trying to find his way past even earlier. So here comes Joner around the outside. Can he get this move done as they make their way down the pit straight? Here we go into the final corner. Here comes Vasil. He's going to look to the outside of his teammate as they make their way into turn 1. He will move up into P3. Viperize, though, going to slide back over as yellow flag. Tano out of the race. So there's a McLaren out on the pit straight. Actually, no, that's out of the final corner. Trying to jump back to see that. That's, that is Darul, Oni, and Tano all coming together out of the final corner. It is going to result in another safety car. And now we just reach an even more interesting point as a number of drivers look to dive in. So big incident there between Darul, Oni, and Tano, resulting in lots of damage. Dodoligo diving into the pits as well. He'll opt for slicks. But of course, all the field behind, or all the rest of the field, is going to have a chance to box. Jamie, of course, currently sitting second, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive into the pit lane now as he gets a chance at that free stop, as the track probably going to continue to dry throughout this stint. Of course, I will try to figure out what exactly happened between Tano, Oni, and Darul, who I believe were all the drivers involved. Stratting, though, also diving into the pits. Of course, this is bad news for Red Bull, who currently in that stack with each other. Vasil was able to find a way past Viperize, and the two able to swap positions, and keep ahead of Joner. But of course, going to dive down the order, and of course, we got our first retirement of the day here on lap number 10. The track's still pretty wet. Here comes the leader into the pits, Amoy Cooley. What will Jamie decide to do? Here comes Jamie and Vasil. Viperize, though, gonna try to back that pack up as much as possible to really, make sure that he loses as little time as he can. Is going to get a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, though, so that'll make his race even worse. And top 9 all into the pits. But this is great news from JoJo and Tommy XXC, who, of course, will take the lead of this race. And, of course, that safety car is going to be very, very good for them. As here they come through the Senna S's. Moy Cooley, of course, just coming out of the pits now. Galoon Jamie currently in 4th. Where does Joner come out? Of course, he'll be on soft. Of course, currently sitting in P11. And Galoon Jamie actually coming out very nicely. He'll come out, it's going to be a race out of the pit lane. He's going to come out in 4th. And he will as well have the Aston Martin of Pingy splitting the distance between him and Vasil, who was keeping him under so much pressure early. So Viperize really trying to make sure he loses as little time as possible in the pits. Also really helped out Galoon Jamie in that championship battle, of course, since he was just in front of Joner, who had to really slow up because that Red Bull, wanted to make sure that he didn't spend quite so much time in the pits. So a little bit of strategy there from Red Bull, potentially really helping out that championship fight for Galoon Jamie. And of course, still in a 2-stop race for most of these cars. Definitely keep an eye on drivers such as Hypnos, Coulter, Viperize, and Pingy to try and go the distance on those hards. Of course, as this race continues, could that 2-stop, could that medium to soft look just be the better option, or even potentially a soft to soft look, as those inters were involved? And I believe in those changeable conditions, you can make that work. And actually, we do have a new leader with Tommy XXC, who I believe was potentially told to have an overtake under safety car. I'm not sure what happened there. That might go to review. Potentially a little bit of desync there, as Tommy XXC is going to take the lead. JoJo, though, going to dive into the pit. So is there damage on the Alpine? We'll have to see as he dives in. Coulter, though, gets a 5-second for speeding in the pit lane. Is there going to be a front wing change on this car? No, there's not. He's actually going to opt for softs, as those mediums not working to his advantage, and he thinks those softs going to be that little bit better. As now he gets back underway. I think there was potentially look at an unsafe release. He's going to retire. JoJo going to retire from the session, which is a massive surprise there. Of course, there's still so much race left to go. I don't know why I'd consider that, but that should just about lock up that just means that Tommy XXC now, I believe, has to score 7 points in order to lock up the Constructors' Championship for McLaren now. Of course, has to outscore Gawoon Jamie. And of course, that's irrespective of what Gawoon Jamie does. Gawoon Jamie would have to win, and of course, Tommy X60 would have to finish in, I believe, 8th or worse. And I believe that would require Jamie also bagging that fastest lap of the race. So now it's a one-on-one in both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship. Of course, Hypnos currently is still, I believe, in the running, as I believe Williams actually still in it for the Constructors. One moment, please. Let me just check those standings. Yeah, as Williams in it, only a point behind Alpine, as his AI pit, so he retired. Okay, that's certainly a decision. Of course, as there's still 24 laps left to go. Of course, it will be 23 of racing the next time we cross the line, as you got to subtract the lap you're on and then add one. Robbie and Joan are actually swapping places there, so potentially an accidental overtake, as that track's still very wet. I think Robbie trying to give that position back. No, he's not. As a Red Bull looking to warm up those tires goes wide, that was Viperize. As that track's still very, very damp now. As why is it broadcast? What? Why is it broadcast? It wasn't... Oh my god. Okay, well, I guess we're still... So I think are we okay? Is Robbie gonna retire now, as that's an AI diving into the pits? Oh boy. Alright, so I think we're having another red flag. That's certainly an interesting decision from Robbie. Is still trying to figure out. Yeah. So we are gonna do a quick reset as well with this from 35%. Apologies about some of the challenges here. Should be getting back underway. Why the fuck is Levi here? Okay, thank you. All right. Should be back underway for good this time. Apologies about all the issues. I'm honestly just as frustrated as it is rather annoying. But yeah, should be back underway for good now. Apologies, just cleaning something off of my sink. That started to have a little bit of a scent to it. But yeah, should be back underway for good. 25 laps to go. Of course, it will be dry for the rest of the race at this point, as the track that is drying and not raining. If it were, definitely would. But sadly, EA, there's this tiny company called Electronic Arts that produces this game. Sadly, they can't make it happen. There's, of course, a couple of drivers now joining back up as spectators. But hopefully, shouldn't break the lobby. But yeah. 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we're now back underway with 25 to go, and it's JoJo with a clean getaway. I think most drivers opt in for it's going to be either soft to medium or medium to soft all the way down the grid, and everybody seemingly underway and all set. Hypno's up into P6, so a good move there as they fan out at the exit of the Senna S's. Are starting at the back, seemingly getting caught up a little bit. Tano looking to move up into 12th. He's down the inside of Darul. So a good move there, and we immediately have a crash as Viperize is out, and we have an immediate virtual safety car. Tano with a 5-second penalty for a collision with Joner, and yeah, I don't know anymore. Like, this is... Yeah, we're gonna have some questions here. But yeah, we are back underway in green. Tano up into 9th, but JoJo currently leading the way. Joner up into 7th, so good moves there from the Haas. Of course, he is going to be chased down by some of those drivers. We'll have to see. As Joner actually going to dive into the pits. 5-second penalty for Joner for speeding in the pit lane. Was that due to contact with Tano? Potentially. But yeah, a bunch of contact, meaning everybody going to dive into the pits. Which, Of course, down to now 14 drivers. Coulter up into 7th. He got by Robbie down into, I believe that's Desiderlago. But yeah, JoJo leading the way from Tommy XXC. Of course, that would have been how we, I believe, should have gotten underway after safety car. But yeah, Alpine, McLaren, Ferrari, Alpine. Currently, as it stands, Gu and Jamie would win the drivers. Yeah, clean racing for 4 corners after getting about 10 of it in the intermediates. Really that only came because of damage. So, yeah, we are going to be having Season 7 on this game. Of course, awaiting the new release of F124. Should be a different looking setup as Hypnos gets past Bono. But yeah, of course, we'll be getting underway with Season 7 rather quickly as Robbie with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits as he tries to dive in, and he's going to retire. So it's Robbie out the race. So there's that. So here he comes up and over the hill. But yeah, currently Jojo and XXC Moikoli currently sitting third. Yellow flag, that's for the retired Durul. Of course, it does move Joner currently up into the points. Of course, he's currently on those soft compound tires. Of course, not going to be a safety car for that retired AlphaTauri. So we'll jump back up to the front of the pack. Tom XXC now with DRS assistance. Is he going to try to find a way past the Alpine of Jojo? He is going to pick up fast lap, but not going to go down the inside. It's actually Hypnos picks up the new fast lap. He's going to look down the inside of the Alpine of Jamie, who's going to defend through the Senna S's. Good exit there, but of course Hypnos going to once again have DRS advantage. Both cars on the mediums. Here they come blasting down into turn number 4, and Jamie's still able to defend. So holding on to that P4. Of course, Joner currently in 10th, but does have that 5-second penalty, so Stratting and Tano can close up that gap. That would put him out of the points, and likely completely out of the running for the championship. Joner actually going to move up into P9, though, as Pingy going to come out of the pit lane. Look, we're still just lots of racing left to go, so plenty of time for stuff to happen. Of course, this lead pack of 5 cars looking to try and make a little bit of a getaway. Bono, of course, back there in P6. Let's cross the line now. It will be 21 laps remaining, and it's still Jojo in the lead. He's got about a 4/10 edge right now. Of course, we'll jump on forward. Not a lot of ERS dumped out of that Alpine. That McLaren, I think, really going on the offensive early in this restart. And Jojo able to manage ERS really nicely. He's sitting about 70%. As Coulter now out of the race, and that's going to bring out a safety car. Okay. So Coulter, I believe, goes around at the Senna S's. It's going to allow a number of drivers to get back into the race. Durul, Joner diving into the pits to serve his 5 seconds. Pingy is actually gonna dive in. Is he gonna get it slowed down? He will. Here comes Stratting. Tano gonna stay out. He's on hards as well, so he could go the distance. Dodoligo diving in as well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see these leaders all dive into the pits. And here come the leaders, of course. Moikoli staying out. Both Alpines diving in, so that's going to be a bit of a downside for Galoon Jamie, who's of course going to have to stack up behind his teammate and is going to lose a decent bit of time. I don't think he'll fall out of this lead pack, but he will fall back down to P5. So only one position lost for the Alpine driver. But yeah, it is going to be Moikoli electing to stay out. So potentially thinking that his tires aren't quite going to be there. Galoon Jamie getting past Hypnos, though. And he is going to cede position back to the Williams. So a little bit of an accidental overtake, it seems. And the rest of the field looking to make their way around and get up behind the safety car, which is currently coming to the end of Sector 2. Yeah, should be getting back underway now on lap number 8. So that'll leave us with 17 laps remaining in this race. course, definitely giving it a quick look at the driver's standings. Of course, as it stands with the current points, Gawun Jamie would be, I believe, driver's champion. Let me just check. Checking to see. Here we go. Just taking a look at our standings, and then I will let you know. Of course, we should be getting back underway this lap, so we'll jump on board with Moikuli for when we get back underway. But yeah, so current tiebreaker would go to Gawun Jamie. But yeah, that gap's sitting at 8 points, so Gawun Jamie needs 8. Safety car in this lap, so it is going to give Moikuli control. So the Mercedes safety car going to try and hurry its way around into the pits. But yeah, here, so we will get back underway. There's a number of cars getting backed up there as they made, as the field kind of accordioned up. Or concertinaed, sorry. So the safety car now into the pits, and here goes Moikuli. Jojo with a decent jump behind him. Tommy XXC underway solidly. Hypnos, Gawun Jamie with a bit of a slower getaway. Bono's right on his tail. So as they come into turn 1, there's a McLaren going down the inside. Gawun Jamie going to box him in. Tano, though, looking down the inside. He's going to try to make that move stick, but Jamie able to defend into turn 1 from Tano. Jojo as well, able to overtake Moikuli, who got a really poor exit there. He's dropped down a number of positions. He's now down into 3rd, and here comes Hypnos, who's going to try to find a way down the inside. Tano, though, looking to make a move on Jamie. He's going to get that move done down the inside. Jamie, though, looking for the switchback out of turn 4. Is he going to make that move stick? They're going to remain side by side as they run up the hill. But Jamie going to have to concede that position. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's first Joner. That's for your Drivers' Championship leader and Dodaligo. So Joner kind of getting beat there, so we'll allow that reset. But Dodaligo able to get back on track. That's a big time loss for Joner. And could be the end of his push for the Drivers' Championship. Of course, still 17 laps left to go next time we cross the line. So lots of racing. And still things could happen to Gawun Jamie. But as it stands, you are currently looking at your Drivers' Championship winner. But here comes Bono on the hunt. Of course, Jamie and Joan are currently tied on points. Here comes the Aston Martin looking to maybe make a move down the inside. A little bit of contact on the rear of that Alpine as that pack very tight. But Jamie, of course, no DRS for 2 laps. So here he comes. Is he going to try to make a move back on Tano? He's going to pop to the inside as they run down into turn number 4. But is going to tuck back in behind Tano as they make their way in there. And I think that McLaren just running a little bit less downforce than that Alpine. As Jamie getting really tight through those corners. And actually going to look to make a move as they go up and over the hill. That's a great little move there from the Alpine driver, though the McLaren of Tano still in it. But Jamie able to get that done and find his way past Tano and move back up into 5th place. Of course, DRS going to be activated on the next lap, so that will be a big advantage for those cars behind Jamie. Yeah, still lots of racing. Of course, that front pack already making a little bit of a getaway. The gap back to Jamie is at about 2 seconds, so that should allow the front 4 to start to pull away a little bit and potentially fight on their own for this win. Of course, Moikuli still has to pit. DRS now enabled, as Hypnos actually makes his way past Tommy XXC down into turn 1, but will the McLaren be able to fight back? Yellow flag in Sector 3. That is for Joner, so his day just goes from bad to worse, as I think those tires got overheated just from that spin earlier, and he's just really struggling, so that could be the end of his fight for the drivers, as those hard tires potentially just cooked. And he's, of course, going to have to try and stay in it and hope for a safety car with 15 laps left to go. Jamie, though, starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Tano behind him. Of course, let's take a look quickly at some of the tires. Hards is the choice for most of the grid at the moment. Mediums on Moikuli and Jojo, though. On softs on Pingy and Stratting. So, of course, drivers, Moikuli will have to pit again, as will probably Pingy and R Stratting. So, potentially 3 points in it for Joner if he can stay in it and get some time back. But, of course, he is going to need a little bit of help from elsewhere if he wants to try and lock that up. as JoJo and Hypno is going to battle. Hypno is, though, going to take the lead here at the start of lap number 11 with the assistance of DRS. That Williams seemingly is pretty rapid right now and is quickly starting to kind of bridge that gap. And, of course, Williams probably out of it for the constructors now. Yellow flag in Sector 1. That's for an Aston Martin. That is Pingy dropping down the order, so potentially a little bit of an incident there. But it is going to be Hypnos that takes the lead. Are Stratting able to find a way past, and Darul currently battling. That's actually Stratting making a move very nicely in that middle sector, so he'll jump up into P8. So a good move there. And of course, JoJo still going to have a chance at Hypnos as long as he stays within that DRS, which he should. Jamie as well has managed to pull a good gap to Tano behind. So did Tano potentially come together with one of the Aston Martins? It looks like he did, as there is damage to that end plate. So Tano is going to receive damage. He is going to have to dive into the pit lane, so that, bad to worse for the pole sitter. So here comes JoJo. Pingy also going to dive into the pits, so that's he's going to actually retire from the session. So we'll put Joner up into 11th, one more retirement, and he will start getting some points. Moy Cooley, meanwhile, falling well down the order. He's down to 8th now. And, of course, this will give Woon Jamie a lot of free air to operate in. Of course, currently scoring 12 points, which means Joner has to score more than 4 if he wants a shot at winning that Drivers' Championship title. Of course, as it stands as well, McLaren would currently also win the Constructors' Battle. But again, still, about 12, 13 laps to go now. So 13 laps to go now, counting this one. So, of course, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, you got a good little front 3 breakaway here. Of course, Hypnos starting to lead a little bit of a DRS train. As Darul also going to dive into the pits. Their damage on that Alpha Tauri. Of course, he was behind Tano. And there is going to be a front wing change for the Alpine, slapping on some medium tires. And of course, here comes Tano and Joner. So, of course, there is going to be fresh tires on that Alpha Tauri, but that does bump Joner up into the points. So currently scoring 1 is the Haas driver. And, of course, he'll have a couple of seconds gap back behind. So that just puts a little inkling of pressure onto Woon Jamie at the moment. Of course, not a lot of cars around him, so not too much worry, I'd imagine. But still important to get to the finish. Stratting with a pretty good race so far. He's up into 6, of course, on those softs, which aren't going to last for super long. We'll have to see if he can continue to improve. Moy Cooley, meanwhile, still waiting on that safety car, I think, as he just kind of continues to trickle down the order. Currently sitting in 7th, of course, led the safety car restart. Of course, Tano is setting the new fastest lap of the race on those fresh medium compound tires. Yeah, now 11 laps to go as Hypnos continues to lead the way. Time XXC, though, with a little bit of a mistake. Yellow flag for an Alpha Tauri, that is for Darul, who I think those tires are cooked as he's actually going to lose the rear again. Stratting, meanwhile, going to dive into the pit, so potentially good timing there, as actually that AlphaTauri does get beached, so again, we'll allow that reset the track, just to avoid causing a safety car, as he was struggling with those tires. McCooley with a 3-second penalty for track limits. Probably not going to be a massive concern on that front, but track limits could play a factor as this race continues. Of course, Joner coming down the pit lane as well. He's not quite going to get our Stratting, but could those new tires... actually, no, there's a decent gap between Stratting and Tano, so I'd imagine that's not going to be too much of a factor. Of course, that gap at the front starting to grow a little bit. Hypno's able to make a little bit of a getaway up at the front now. As he's actually pulled away from Jojo, who's really having to try and dump some ERS. As that red light flashing at the rear of the Alpine, who's trying to pull up to that rear to get that DRS advantage. That Alpine, just, a bit of a rocket in a straight line compared to Hypno's Williams. The downforce on that Williams is proven to be, the X factor, especially in that middle portion of the track where Hypno is just able to pull away. Now looks to probably be breaking that DRS advantage. Of course, all eyes going to be remaining on Gowon Jamie's Alpine. Of course, just 10 laps now separating him from the Drivers' Championship. Of course, it would be rather tight in the from the Drivers' Championship for Jamie. I believe I said Constructors. Of course, Jojo losing a lot of time. He's actually now going to be in another fight with Tommy XXC, and that should allow Hypnos to pull away and maybe secure that victory for Williams. I don't believe, they would still be outscored by Alpine, so they would still remain in third. But a good showing from Hypnos. Of course, came into the league rather recently and has, been rather clean and definitely, good to see him race week in, week out now. Of course, still lots of racing, or not a lot, but a decent chunk of racing left to go now. Of course, Joner, not the race he would have wanted. Definitely has been one of our more consistent drivers. Definitely kept in it the whole season. That's why he's got a chance. Why he's had a chance at this drivers' championship win. Of course, with Wingish leaving the league, of course, somebody invited him as a spectator. But of course, with him leaving LSR, that means he is no longer eligible to win the drivers' championship. But yeah, definitely been a great season from Joner. Definitely be interested to see him continue. Of course, we are going to be making some changes for Season 7. This was definitely a bit of an attempt at a comeback for Group 1. Definitely has had its ups and downs, but hopefully should continue to get better. Is Tommy XC able to get a move done on Gowon Jamie? He's actually going to block him off as they run up into T5. So a good move from the McLaren. In order to just try and secure that Constructors' Championship win just that little bit more. Of course, both XXC and JoJo running low on ERS, but XXC, I think, that rear light flashing all the way through. Of course, we saw JoJo's light flashing earlier, but that ERS recharging very nicely on his car. But of course, XXC looking to make a breakaway, but not enough to keep that DRS, break DRS. 0.8 though, so potentially those hard tires really coming into their own, and despite how much of a rocket that Alpine seems to be in a straight line, maybe Tommy XXC has that chance to pull away even with that lack of ERS. Of course, Jojo not going to get him here, so we'll have to wait until they head down into turn number 4 once again. So we'll stick with them as they make their way through now. So they come, XXC going to defend to the inside. So here comes JoJo. Is he going to look to dive to the inside at the last moment? No, he's not. He's going to stay behind. And so Tommy XXC moves up into P2 for McLaren. Making their way into the final corner. It will be 6 to go next time they cross the line, but Hypnos with a rather comfortable 2.7 second advantage now. Of course, Tommy XXC still there, but of course with JoJo on his tail, it's certainly going to be a decent incentive for him to continue to try and climb up the order. But of course, Gawoon Jamie going to be there as well. So about, what is that? 8 seconds between first and fourth, so still a number of drivers in it, especially if some drivers start to find some difficulty. But yeah, that gap up to 3 seconds now as Tommy XXC having to continue to defend. JoJo closing once again, gets within a tenth, but still not close enough in order to try and get the move done. And actually, Tommy XXC going to receive a 3-second time penalty for track limit, so that does put him net P3 now as well. So McLaren potentially starting to struggle a little bit. Of course, it will be 5 to go next time we cross the line. Of course, Malik Cooley, I think, still out on those same medium compound tires he started the race on, potentially just looking to try and get a safety car in there. Gawoon Jamie, of course, currently scoring 12 points. Jonah scoring 1, which does put that gap at 3 points between the Alpine driver and the Haas driver. A little bit loose on exit, but continuing to push is Gawoon Jamie. As he doesn't want to leave anything to chance. And also got a decent 6.7 tenth gap to Bono behind him. There's Mike Cooley finally going to dive into the pits now with 5 laps to go, so he'll lose a couple of spots. Here comes JoJo once again, but still just not quite able to find that way past. I think really just trying to keep XXC under pressure, maybe force another track limits mistake, and also potentially just looking to build up that ERS. Just try and give himself as much of an opportunity as he can to find a way past on track. Meanwhile, Gawoon Jamie falling off the pace of the two ahead a little bit. That gap currently sitting at 4.5 seconds, but able to build that gap just slightly to Bono behind. Tano with a nice race up into P6, but Dodoligo right on him. He's actually going to potentially look to the inside as they run up the hill, but he's going to think better of it. Of course, as they come up into the hill now, it's going to be single file as they make their way through. Chris McCooley going to be searching for that fast lap point. Jonah, of course, currently still down there in 10th. And as we start with 4 to go, Hypnos starts lap number 22. JoJo, meanwhile, looking to find a way around Tommy XXC, was looking around the outside into the center S's and then tried to look to cut it back down to the apex. But Tommy XXC just able to be later on the brakes and get that done. But can JoJo get it done now? He's going to defend to the inside, and he's basically going to, and JoJo going to blast right through. And so it's the Alpine of JoJo back up into second. And it's been a good battle all day, seemingly, between JoJo and XXC. Of course, XXC almost missing the race due to a technical issue. But now, of course, it will be Tommy XXC's chance to try and regain a little bit of that ERS and potentially try and make a move back at JoJo and keep him under pressure. Our Striding, though, is going to receive a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so it's going to be our third recipient of the day. Of course, 3 laps to go now as blue flags for Darul, who just really has not had a great race. Jonah as well, getting 3-second time penalty for track limits. So that's another one of the spectators leaving. Of course, with ghosting, Darul can push if he wants to. Is ghosting much more consistent in terms of lap traffic, though that will give Hypnos the advantage of DRS and leader DRS. Meanwhile, towards the back, here comes Tommy XXC looking to maybe try and make a move, but not quite pulling close enough to the back of JoJo's car But a little bit loose there is the Alpine. So those mediums potentially really starting to get worn out. 3 laps left to go. So Tommy XXC still going to have plenty of chances in order to try to get that move done. Moikuli sets a new fastest lap with a 109.1 for Ferrari. So steals that point away from Tano and McLaren. Though it shouldn't come down to that 1 point. Yeah, not lots of racing left to go. Definitely a bunch of drivers looking to just manage their tires the rest of the way now. Among them, probably Dodoligo, yellow flag in Sector 3. That is, who was that for? Okay, I believe that was for the AlphaTauri of Jarul, just trying to get out of the way. Was definitely confused there for a second, as with the ghosting. Looked like it was potentially Hypnos that had made that mistake. But no, it was the AlphaTauri just looking to get out the way. And here, so 2 laps left to go now. So just 2 laps now that separates Gwoon Jamie from being Drivers' Champion for Group 1 Season 6. But and of course, Tommy XXC still wants to get that move done. But of course, he's going to have, has about a lap and change now to try and get that done. And Gwoon Jamie, of course, just looking to try and finish that race. Of course, it is going to pass Darul Octem for another position. But it has been Hypnos leading most of the way since our second red flag of the day. Of course, we had an issue with somebody joining the lobby when they weren't supposed to, which was the first red flag. Also, we had a driver receive 2 grid drops, and then the second one was a settings reset issue in our scramble to get back up and running. So apologies about that to both our drivers and to any of you watching at home. But Hypnos is going to get us underway. And he's going to start the last lap of Group 1 Season 6. And he is going to have that 4-second gap up at the front. So Jojo going to lead the way as they head down into Turn 1. Tommy XC, though, of course, going to be potentially... He is going to be behind on track, but that's a really good run there through Turn 2. So can he keep that gap together? 1/4 second. Of course, the red light at the back of Jojo's car is flashing. But that straight line speed in that Alpine just has made it an absolute missile. And he's able to hold off Tommy XXC. Of course, still... 1 DRS zone left to go, but all eyes going to be on Gwoon Jamie as he makes his way through Turn 4 to just try and bring it home for Alpine. Again, just, been a very consistent driver. Hasn't necessarily been the quickest, but has just been in it consistently. Has managed to keep his nose out of trouble for the most part. And it all comes down to today when Gwoon Jamie has that shot at securing the Drivers' Championship. Of course, definitely a little bit fortuitous. Of course, with Wingish not being around to have to challenge. But it will be Hypnos winning the final round here in Season 6 of Group 1 of Brazil. It's the Williams driver on top. Jojo will come home ahead of XXC. But your Drivers' Champion for Season 6 is the Alpine of Gwoon Jamie. He comes home P4. That will secure the Drivers' Championship for him. And as well, congratulations to the McLaren team. Of course, Tommy XXC being the remainder of that for securing the Constructors' standings with that P3. Definitely good to see there. Bono comes home to finish 5th for Alpine ahead of Tano, Dodoligo, Moikuli in 8th. Will score that fast lap. Arshading in 9th. And then Joner, certainly a great season from him. Yeah, he shouldn't be disappointed at all. But of course, definitely disappointed that it came down to that last race and he couldn't quite secure it. He'll round out the points in 10th and will finish 3 back in that Drivers' Championship battle. So hopefully you all at home enjoyed that, despite some of the chaos. Definitely stay tuned for the Group 2 championship finale tomorrow. Of course, the drivers already secured by Alexis Beast, but still a lot of battles left to go, so definitely tune in for that, as well as for Season 7 in just a couple of weeks' time, and we'll let you know how that shapes up as we get closer to it. So hopefully you all have a great day. And, of course, we'll just jump through to the standings. And, of course, there it is. It is Hypnos the winner, but it is Gwoon Jamie securing the Drivers' Championship title. Moikuli will walk away with fast lap and that extra points. That's 5 points for Ferrari, which I believe should allow them to finish ahead of Mercedes. And, of course, there is your order. So hope you all have a great day, and we will see you next time.